Let's talk about popular authors. Especially authors, I've decided to not continue to read any of their books because I just don't enjoy them. So I have a list, I think, of 5 authors that I've read, and then I'm gonna just name a few authors that I'm just not interested in, but like popular authors. So let's begin. So the first author I'm gonna talk about is Ali Hazelwood. So when she came out with her first book, and I've seen all the hype about it, I just wasn't interested in this one. I don't know if it's a popular opinion or an unpopular opinion, but it's my opinion. But I'm not the type of person who enjoys like fan fiction, especially Star Wars fan fiction, especially when you cast like Adam Driver as the the main character, because it's just a man. Yeah. But that's another thing. But this type of story didn't interest me at all, especially when people talked about like the sex scene. I was like, never gonna read this one. But then I think she came out last year. Bride came out last year. I read this one, so it was my first book of hers, and I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed the story. It was fun, and I thought maybe I had like a bad misconception about her books. So I decided to read Love Theoretically. It was just okay, and even in this one, the sex scene, not a good one. I don't remember if there was a lot of sex scene, but the one I remember, the description was not very good, and the story is not very good. I didn't feel like it was a very good story. But then I continued to read because I'm like, since I liked Bride, maybe other books of hers I will like. So I tried Love on the Brain, didn't like it either. And then the last book I read of hers is Not in Love, and no, just no. I'm not interested in her stories or in the way she writes characters. And to be honest, I don't really understand the hype about her. Yeah. I'm not gonna say never. I'm never gonna read her again, because maybe I will read the second one in the Bride series. I think it's Mate or Mated, something like that. Maybe I will read it, but I don't know. I'm, I'm not gonna rush to read it. The next author I gave up on is Lana Ferguson. I think I read the books in publishing order. So the first book I read of hers was The Nanny, the second one was The Fake Mate, and then The Game Changer, which I read like 2 months ago. And I think her stories are not for me. And when I made the list of all the books I read of each authors, I was on Goodreads. And then I realized all her books are like a 3.5 or 3.6 stars on Goodreads. And to me, that's not a good book, especially if all her books are like that. I'm like, I don't think she's a favorite author of a lot of persons. I think the main problem with me is with their books, they are too long, especially The Nanny. I felt like the story only took place like in the house, so there was not a lot of change of scenery or just a lot of nice scenes, because every scene looked like the same. And it made the book even longer. I think it's like a 400 pages romance, or maybe, I don't remember, but to me it felt long. But the fact that there was not a lot of scenes that were different made the book even longer. Then when I read The Fake Mate, to be honest, I didn't really have a lot of hope when I read The Fake Mate, because one of the tropes I hate, like with the big H, I hate fake dating. To me, it's like the worst trope ever. Sue me. But so I didn't have a lot of hope when I read The Fake Mate. But surprisingly, it was the one I enjoyed the most out of the 3 I read of hers. Because I liked the like paranormal aspect of the story. But yeah, it was not my favorite because it's a fake dating romance. Then when I read The Game Changer a few months ago, I just started to hate read the book. I don't know why, because there was nothing really bad in the book, but there was nothing really good either. So in the Game Changer, it's between a baker and a hockey player, and she brings him on her TV show, or baking show, to help viewership and to help his image with the public eye. But I don't know, this book frustrated me so much. And then she came out with Under Lock and Key or something like that. And I had it on my tablet, and I was like, you know what? I don't have the time or energy for this kind of books, so I just deleted it. So yeah, I don't think I'm gonna read her books anymore, except if one time she has a book like with a 3.8 rating or higher, maybe I will read the book, but not when they're like 3.5, 3.6. The third author I'm gonna talk about is Laurie Guillemot. So she came out with the Pumpkin Spice Latte. No. So she came out with the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, and the Christmas Tree Farm. So I read the first two, and the third one I DNF'd it. So I thought that when I started the first one, I thought it was gonna be like a cozier romance, I'm gonna say. And when there was like the mystery with the bad guy and then his reasoning, I was like, okay. And then nobody cared about what he did. So yeah. And then the second one, I didn't find the romance believable. And then the third one that I DNF, to me, the main female character to me was just a bitch. Point blank, just a bitch. I didn't like the way she talked to anybody, actually. So yeah, I knew I wasn't gonna like the romance if I don't like one of the two characters in the romance. And I feel like the writing of Laurie Guillemot is not that special, so I don't feel like I'm missing anything. The next author is Tara DeWitt, and I'm a bit disappointed because I feel like her covers are really pretty, especially since they redid the covers of her first books. And I find them really pretty, the colors, and yeah. So I read from her Rootbound, The Co-op, and the last one was Savor It. To be honest, I don't really remember Rootbound, but I remember that I read it very quickly, and that's why I kept continuing to read her books, because I can read her books in like a day. But I want to enjoy reading the books. So yeah, Rootbound, don't really remember the story. Then The Co-op is between two people who wants to renovate a house. It was just okay. And I think the problem is I have a really hard time getting invested in her romance. And the last one, which made me think that, yeah, she's maybe not the author for me, was Savor It. So in this one, there's a guy who comes in town, he's a chef, and he's becoming the chef of the new restaurant opening in town. And the main female character is his neighbor. And yes, they fall in love. And to me, it lacked the small town aspect, it lacked romance. The only thing I really remember from it is like he had a kid, but I don't remember if it was his kid or like he adopted his sister. And I also remember that the main female character had like animals and she had like big gowns, like dressing gowns. That's the thing I remember. But yeah, like every other book I talked about. Didn't feel a lot. The writing is not that special. So yeah, probably not gonna read any more of her books. And I think she has one coming out this year, maybe in a few months. But yeah, not gonna read it. So for the last four authors, I talked about like contemporary romance authors. And the fifth one I'm gonna talk about is the historical romance author, and it's Lisa Kleypas. I only finished one of her books, and I DNF'd another one. But to me it was quite significant when I read the first one. I was like, oh, I really didn't like it, and I wanted to give her another chance, but I DNF'd the book. So the first book I read and finished was Mine Till Midnight, and it was quite an important book for me because it was the first historical romance paperback I found like secondhand. Before that, all the historical romances I read it on my tablet, on my Kindle. And so I was quite excited to find a historical romance in the wild. I was quite happy to read this book, and when I started reading it, I was like, oh no! And the biggest problem I have with Lisa Kleypas's books is just the consent. In this one, the number of times the heroines said no, 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 and the guy is like, I don't care, and I'm like, ooh. And so the second chance I wanted to give her was with Stranger in My Arms. So in this one, you have a woman who's widowed, but one day a dead husband comes back from the grave, and when they were married before, he was horrible to her, and when he comes back, he's really nice, he's really changed. So first she has to realize that, oh, he's not dead, and then she has to realize that, oh, is it the same guy or is it another guy? Spoiler alert, it's not the same guy. So there's like mistaken identity, and then again, I didn't go that far, but when I checked the reviews, the consent was not there. Especially to me, if it's like mistaken identity and you think you're sleeping with your late husband, but you're sleeping with someone else, consent is not there. So, yeah. And at this point I was like, there are so many other historical romance authors that I could try. There's like hundreds of them. And I was like, if I stop reading her, my world is not gonna end. And so yeah, Lisa Kleypas, I think I can confidently say I will never read from her again, and I want to focus my time and energy and focus on other books and other romance book where consent is like key. So yeah, that's like the 5 biggest authors I could think of that I kind of gave up on, and I'm just gonna go quickly through other popular authors that I'm just not interested in. And I feel like these authors have like everything that I could like in romances, but just the pitch and the synopsis and the length of the book, I'm like, no. And when I talk about the length, the first one I'm gonna talk about is Lucy Score. So I think I tried to read one of her books, like Lucy Moves On. It's like a renovation story, and I DNF'd it. I feel like I was like maybe a third of halfway through the book, and I was like, I can't do it anymore. But especially like things we got over and stuff like that, I never had really an interest in those books, and especially I feel those ones are long, like 500 pages. Not interested. Actually, now that I talk about it, I feel like I said I'm not interested in those authors, but I think I DNF'd a book from each of the authors I'm gonna talk next. So the next one is Elena Armas. I tried reading the American Roommate Experiment. I didn't try reading the Spanish Deception because it was fake dating, and like I said, I hate this one, so yeah, I'm not gonna read a fake dating book. And I tried reading the American Roommate Experiment and didn't like the writing. The heroine was very juvenile, so I was like not interested. And then there's TJ Klune. I tried to read The House on the Cerulean Sea and I DNF'd it. And then stuff came out about like the native Canadian school and the fact that it was inspired by it, and I was like, ooh, okay. And then every other book that he came out with, even like Wolf Song and stuff like that, I don't know why, just not interested. Then I have Ashley Poston. I tried to read like maybe 6 or 7 years ago Guy Corella. I know now she writes like romance, and at that time she was only writing young adult. But yeah, I didn't have Guy Corella. But I feel like what makes me not interested in the books she comes out like more recently is like the magical realism aspect of the stories. I don't really like it when it's like in a contemporary world and just one thing is magical. I don't like this type of story, especially if it's romance. And I'm not interested to see how the story plays out. I'm like, no. So yeah. Then I have Catherine Center. I tried to read Things You Save in a Fire, and I didn't like the writing. I can't really pinpoint what I didn't like. Oh, no, I think also DNF'd The Bodyguard. again, the writing. I didn't like the way that the characters were written. So yeah, now I remember. I didn't really like the way the characters were written. The way they were thinking, to me, it's like not how a human acts. Like, you know, when everything is like hyperbolic and everything is too much, to this, to that. I feel like her writing is like that, very stereotypical. Not that the writing is stereotypical, but the way that the characters are thinking. So yeah, not interested in her stories. And yeah, the last two authors, I didn't try any of their books, but I'm not interested. And the first one of the two is Travis Baldree. So I love cozy fantasy. I love cozy fantasy. But when he came out with Legend and Latte, I was like, I don't know why, nothing is calling to me in this story. I should love it, but I don't feel any interest in it, and I'm like, why? And the last one I have is a author duo, and it's Becca and Krista Ricci. They came out with a lot of books, and I know all their series are like connected in some way. And I feel like maybe again like 6 or 7 years ago I had like the first Addicted, I think that's the name, Addicted to You. I don't know. I don't know because I'm not interested in it. But I feel like I had one of the books on my tablet, and then I was like, yeah, I'm just not interested. And now that people talk about it, and I know with TikTok and social media, their books got traditionally published, but I still feel no interest in it. So yeah, I don't have like a big conclusion to this list and to this video, but I feel like sometimes you can talk negatively or just very neutrally about popular things you're not interested in. And that concludes the video. Let me know if you have like authors you decided to just stop reading them. Let me know in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.